Thanks for joining the HomeMatters podcast with Eric and Gena Boggs, where they lead authentic, raw discussions about marriage, family life, kids, intimacy, and sex from a biblical perspective. Now here's your host, Eric and Gena Boggs.
Well, hello, Eric Boggs.
Hello.
Nice to be back again.
Welcome to HomeMatters.
This is number 8.
Episode number 8.
That's right.
We're glad you're with us.
We sure are.
Whatever you're doing, if you're listening in the car or listening at work or listening while you play or wherever,
Maybe they're listening while they exercise.
I do
Why are you
that
laughing?
sometime.
You do. You do
Listen
exercise.
to podcasts. And
He
different
exercised
stuff.
without me today. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I didn't
Tried to get you
exercise
to go,
today.
but you wouldn't do it.
I know. I just couldn't do it today.
A lot of stuff going on.
That's right.
I know you're probably busy and a lot of things going on with your life and family, and you're
That's
joining
right.
in with us, and hopefully
That's
we can
right.
say something to encourage you along the way.
We sure hope so.
Build you along
And
the way.
I just say in all that busyness, it's easy to get so busy that really the important things sometimes get left behind. So
We
hope
miss out
that-
on the majors, and
That's right. So this is a major today.
yeah,
that we're
this is
talking about.
huge.
And in the busyness, you're talking about the busyness.
Yep.
In that busyness, this is something you really got to focus on.
Yep.
What are we talking about?
You going to tell them or me?
I thought he knew.
Well, we're talking about choosing to love, or asking
right.
the question, even is love a choice?
Is it a choice? Is it a decision?
I would say most definitely. Most people would say it is not. When you think about love and relationship and love and marriage, love with anybody, most people think it's just something that happens. It's just kind of.
Well, I think a lot of times we just think that love is something that we feel. And we can feel love. We can feel
Thank God.
we can feel the emotions that are acquainted or attached to love. But what happens in a marriage relationship if you just one day don't feel love?
Yeah.
You ever had that happen?
Yeah, or what if they're acting in a way they're not very lovable? Ever had that happen? You ever had that happen?
Have I had that happen? I'm sure you've had that happen with me. I've had that happen.
Yeah.
Maybe just one time.
And that's
in
the reason we say that
36
love
years.
has to be a choice. It's not just always feeling the right emotions. It's not always, always having the mushy, gooey, ooey kind of feeling.
Well, just because maybe one day the emotional love, the feeling of love, that ooey gooey, whatever, I'm so glad I married you feeling, if that's not there, then we have to intentionally make that choice and decision to still act on love,
Right.
even when the emotion in there.
Yeah, and the reality is love for believers. That's a command. Jesus
Yeah.
taught us to love one another, and I always say it this way: you can't command emotions. So if He commanded it, then we have to see that maybe we have to move outside the realm of just our feelings and do love.
That's right, action.
Yeah, be love.
Because love is action.
It's a verb.
It's a
Somebody said it
verb.
that way. Love is a verb.
I've heard that said before.
Yeah, and there's actually a song I think DC taught, or
Really?
one of those guys. Love is a verb. Yeah,
I remember that.
and with that, that's what we're saying. So you move it into that place. If we move love into that paradigm, if you can say it that way, then you can see that love is actually something you can choose to do.
That's right.
Even when it may not feel like it, even when your spouse or your kids or
Whoever
but especially
doesn't
your
act
spouse,
like
I think you have to realize that you got to choose to love, and we have to act on what we know is in our heart, even when we don't feel it. Right?
Man, in that heart, we'll talk about that in a little bit, I think, but the state of our heart will help out if our heart is in the right place. But Let's look at 1 Corinthians 13 first, because that's known as the love chapter, right?
Yeah.
That's what we call it. But it starts off with love being an action, with there being action that comes along with our love. It says love is patient, love is kind. So those are actions that are the result of a love that's in my heart.
Yeah, all those things that don't act right, they don't act the wrong way. Don't act. The old word is act unbecomingly.
Unbecomingly, yeah. It's
Love
not boastful.
Love is not jealous. Love is not arrogant.
Envy.
Yeah, all those things. Listen to this one. Love don't provoke.
Ooh.
I would say that with that word, it probably would say love does not manipulate.
Ooh, that's a good one. Or aggravate or agitate on purpose.
Yeah.
Does all that fit in there?
Yeah, it means you can't push the wrong buttons. You know what I'm talking about?
Don't we know each other's buttons in marriage?
Yeah, some of you in marriage, you probably know the buttons to push, or the thing to do, or the thing to say, or the way to slam the door, or the
or
little
the way
things.
To look. You get that look.
Yeah. But realizing that, again, love is an action, and all those things is something that you do, something you choose to do. And we find out in life that a lot of times our actions are the things that our actions really are a result of our feelings.
Yeah.
If we're not careful, we can do that all the time, right?
Well, actions naturally, I think we say it this way, just follow an emotion. Okay, so if I'm feeling anger, then I may have an outburst. If I'm feeling hurt, I may withdraw. If I'm disappointed, I may cry. So there's a result.
You pinch me, I will cry.
I've heard that, yeah. Where did that come from?
I heard it on a movie sometime, I think.
But what we're saying with that is the action follows the emotion. So if I'm lacking the emotion that causes me to feel love, if I'm lacking that, then in my natural self, I withhold that action that would follow love.
Think about your emotions.
They're something else.
Yeah. If you get angry, what do?
Yell.
Yell.
Get loud.
If you're happy,
you
smile a lot.
Yeah.
So you do something, right? So what if you're unhappy?
Then your face usually reveals that, right? That's another song. If you're happy and you know
So
it.
what we're saying may be kind of against the nature,
your face.
Right?
That's right. It is against our nature.
But you have to go back to the place that maybe you realize that, again, you made vows.
Oh, yeah.
To love
Those
and to
marriage
cherish as part of the vows of most ceremonies anyway. Again, hopefully we move it past the ceremony. It is a reality.
That's right.
That we love and cherish each other. And we find that naturally that our nature becomes that we act in love whether we feel like it or not, that we act out of our heart.
I mean, that's the bottom line. Because, I mean, anybody listening, I mean, you know this, whether you've been married a short time or a long time, the feeling of love, a lot of times is like a roller coaster. Just depending upon what somebody said or what somebody's done or what they haven't said or what they haven't done, it just kind of rides on that roller coaster. So if the action only depends on my emotion, then the way I show love in my relationship is always going to be changing.
Yeah.
And we have to have some we have to have some consistency there, some stability, right? In the love that we're showing.
So we have to choose rightly, right? And realizing that love, the love that I have for my spouse, I always say it this way, the love that I have for my spouse or anybody is really a commitment to always be looking for their good. Yeah. Always, we're kind of like God. We're working for good, regardless of what's going on, regardless of how we feel. We're committed to the good of our spouse. We're committed to the good of
something that helps with that, too, is... the word teaches us as well to do everything that we do as unto the Lord.
Right.
So I'm not just a wife to Eric. It sounds crazy, but according to the word, I'm being a wife to Eric as unto the Lord.
Yeah.
So that changes it a lot, doesn't it? If we can think that way.
Well, again, I mean, if we live our lives that way,
Yeah.
that we live our lives and recognizing that we are responsible. We're responsible to each other, but there's a higher calling than that. That I live my life to glorify God. That I live my life
Responsible to Him.
I want to be a husband that somehow reflects the goodness of God, right?
That's right.
Or a wife that
wife.
reflects that God's goodness and grace is extended to
Parents.
us. Yeah,
Yeah.
big time parents. So
That
again, with
extend
that
His love.
is something that we choose, and that's why that there's really no condition that has to be met for us to still carry that responsibility, that obligation to love. And again, like I said earlier, Jesus commanded us to love everybody, but that should certainly fit at home, right?
I sure hope so. Yeah, with your spouse, definitely.
So if it's a command, I can't wait on a feeling.
That's good.
Again, it's something that we know that He's called us to do, and we do it anyway. We love anyway,
Man,
even when the
just
conditions are
try
not
that.
being met.
Yeah, can we just encourage you, maybe just try that on, see how it fits, this evening or tomorrow or the next day, whenever your spouse, your husband, your wife does something that you just kind of get a little ticked off about.
Yeah.
Say it that way. Or maybe you just kind of discouraged or you're let down. Man, just to go ahead and act as if they had done everything exactly the way you would have wished for them to do.
Yeah, and if you treat them the way that you want them to act, maybe they'll act the way
Yeah, people live
that
up.
would cause you to
to-
treat them that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think people live up sometime to our expectation.
Sure they do.
And so if we continue to treat them in a way that honors and that loves and that shows that respect, even when, because, most of the time I think we know when we didn't deserve it.
Right.
We know when we didn't deserve that kind response. We know when we reserved for somebody to come back at us, but when they don't and we get that love response anyway, makes a big difference in a home.
Better believe it does.
Yeah.
Read that other passage of Scripture we'd had kind of noted there.
I love this. Yeah, it comes from the book of Luke, chapter 6, verse 45. Listen to this. The good person out of the good treasure of his heart produces good, and the evil person out of his evil treasure produces evil. Listen, for out of the abundance of the heart, his mouth speaks.
Wow.
Yeah, so essentially what that's saying is whatever is in my heart is coming out.
It's coming out.
Yeah, so
somewhere.
my heart condition in being able to show love and give love and act in love, that all comes back to my heart condition. And man, I need Jesus to work on my heart.
In the day we're
every
living
day.
in, let's just be honest, in the day that we're living in, love, the word is kind of thrown around kind of lightly. It's
Yes,
very
it is,
shallow. The
for sure.
term, its uses, even in our family, we kind of kid about how much we say we love each other, and, even using the term, we never leave without saying I love you. And
Yeah, more than several times.
yeah,
usually.
and that's important. That is important. We don't take away from that.
Although we kid around with it.
Yeah, I don't
sometimes,
make
love
apologies.
you
We
for
don't
the
kid around.
47th time.
We don't kid around as much about it as other people do when they hear us.
Right.
And again, it's something. So again, we do realize that love is a word that's thrown around and it's used rather lightly. And we know that with that is something that we have to make sure that beyond just the feeling, beyond just the conditions being met,
That's right.
we have to step into places where we're committed to one another, and we do the things that we act in a way that is loving, that is for their good. And listen, in your marriage, what would happen today if you just decided, regardless of whether all the demands, we talked about that at one of the other podcasts, but what would happen even if all the demands that I have or all the expectations that I have are not being met? What will we do? What would it do to your marriage if you just decided, you know what, I'm going to make sure that everything I do is motivated by my love.
Yeah.
It's not motivated by my feeling, but it's what I know in my heart. I ask people a lot of times what happened when you first fell in love.
Yeah.
We'd go to whatever extent we had to, right?
That's right. Do whatever you had to do.
Yeah, take the time, the energy, the money.
in thinking about what you're saying right there leads me back to something we talked years ago. Who'll be the hero? And, I think in a marriage relationship, somebody's got to be willing to just stand up and maybe bow down. Maybe I should say it that way.
Well, you got to die
Just
every
be
day to
humble.
yourself, right?
Yeah, and die to yourself and say, all right, he didn't deserve
Easier said than done, right?
Oh, yeah.
Easier said than done.
But if we can do that and say, well, he didn't deserve for me to be kind, or she didn't deserve for me to not say anything, but I'm going to take the high road. I'm going to be the hero here because it's for the good of your marriage. It's for the good of your relationship.
And again, if you want a marriage that's healthy, that's vibrant, that's romantic,
that's growing,
that's always moving in directions where that love is real and recognized, and it's something you can be confident in.
Yeah.
Then again, your marriage, your home will flourish.
Yeah, it will.
Because out of all of that, your family, your children, if you're raising kids,
everybody benefits.
Your
from
extended family. I think again that everything can flourish when we find that place that we just keep it in our hearts. That we allow we allow God to kind of search our hearts, and anything that's there that's not like Him.
That's right.
That He cleanses us, that He removes that from our life, and that we live at a place that again, that love in our lives, that love that we have, that we're committed to, it makes everything around us more fruitful, makes it more productive. I think
it has to come back to that. Has to come back to the heart condition and what God can do there.
Yeah. We celebrated an anniversary.
We sure did.
This last week. And again, that's something that looking at it and
36 years.
Just hearing some of our children, our grown children, their comments, we're thankful and appreciative that God has given us the grace to love each other and to be committed to one another, and to see your kids say, it's what I've seen in you that we desire, that we have a.
And we've missed it on this. I'll speak for myself. I've missed it on this a lot of times, but I will say that Eric and I, we've talked about this before. This is one thing that we have tried to be intentional. That's so important, that there are things that you intentionally do in your marriage is to choose the love, to choose the action of love.
And again, who'll be the hero? What she just said. Again, we've talked about it. We have discussed this. We've taught on it. And one thing we found through the years, if you'll talk about it, is something about your words that bind your actions.
That's
and
good,
when you talk about it, with one another, who's going to be the hero to step out and say, hey, let's talk about this thing of love being a choice. Maybe you're listening to this by yourself, or maybe if your spouse is there with you, you may want to just take some time to say, you know what, I choose to love. And you talk about that together. And as you talk about it together, then again, your words bind you.
Yeah,
and they will hold you at a place of accountability personally and with each other, not setting up for a big argument here.
That's right.
But again, you have a place in your life that if somebody is not living up to that, or they're not committed to that, then it's obvious to both of you, right?
Yeah.
And if you're the person that sees your spouse doing that, don't point it out, okay? But just let them kind of bake in it a moment, and they'll recognize they're not living by what you've already discussed. So be the hero, right? Is that what we're saying?
Be the hero. Stand up to that vow, because we pretty much, that's in about every marriage vow. Eric has already said that. So most all of us, if you're listening, you're married, you vowed to love and to cherish. So let's get back to that. Get back to that vow. Choose love. I absolutely guarantee you it will make a difference in your marriage and make a difference in your home.
Love is a choice, right?
Yeah. Choose love.
It's going to do it for the day.
That's right.
Again, hope you join us next week. Again, please share the podcast.
Help us get it out there. That's right.
Because again, here's the thing.
YouTube, Spotify.
Here's our motive in doing all this. We believe that God has a plan for marriage.
Yes, He does.
And for family. And we believe that in everything. What we're saying today, choosing love, man, it can dig a deeper well than you ever thought that you will draw from for generations.
That's so true.
Right?
Yeah. Man, I love that part, for generations.
Yeah, generations.
People other than just you and your spouse will benefit from your decision to choose love.
That's right. Hey, your home matters.
Yes, it does.
God bless you.
Take care.
See
Until
you
next time.